So this final video here is on the irregular -2 commands. Now, these are easy to recognize because the rule we've learned so far has been go to the yo form, drop the final O of that conjugation, and add the opposite ending plus S. Now, with these verbs, they have something in common that we can recognize that they're irregular in this conjugation, and it's that they don't end in O. If you look at these verbs, we've got dar, the yo form in the present tense is doy, D-O-Y. That's not an O at the end. There is no final O. Estar is estoy, ir is boy, saber is se, S-E, so it's an E instead at this end instead of at the end instead of a Y, but S-E with an accent, se, and ser is soy. There's one more verb you could throw into this list. It's haber, which also is ends in E-A. We haven't learned that one just yet, but it's a good one. It's just not really relevant when we're talking commands. But down the road, when we get into the subjunctive mood, you're going to see these 5 verbs and haber added to it later on because that kind of goes with this same chart for the same reasons. Just right now, it's not really useful because we don't use it as a command. But just down the road, you're going to see that. If you maybe find other grammar notes somewhere else, you might see it included in there. It just doesn't make much practical sense to throw it in here right now. So with these verbs, as I said, none of them end in an O in the present tense. So what we do is we just have to remember there's an irregular conjugation to them. And for dar, it becomes des. Now it does actually make some sense, even though they're irregular. If you look at, if I were to ask you to guess, even though knowing that you can't drop the O, what do you think the conjugation of dar would be? You might think that, just the D is the stem, and then you go to the opposite ending. It's an AR verb. The opposite ending is an E, which that's what it is. And then you add S at the end. No des. That you might predict that. And that if you did, that would work out here. Estar, very similar. The stem that would be left over is EST. Normally when you drop the AR, add the opposite ending and it's an E plus an S, which again, we got it pretty close. There just is an accent mark on that E. And that is not optional. That's something you have to throw in there. It changes the which syllable is stressed. The stress syllable is the final syllable. So no estés, estés. We want to stress that last syllable in that. Estés is a different thing, actually not a thing. So we got to make sure we have the accent mark in the right spot and then we pronounce it the right way as well. Ir. This one's a little bit more, takes a little bit more memorization because it doesn't really follow much of a pattern except that it is an IR verb technically. And it does have AS, the opposite ending. So that tracks still, but it becomes vayas. Now, again, you might remember, boy is the yo form present tense, but so it's got a Y in there also like it does in the present tense yo form, but for the -2, just got to remember no vayas. Saber becomes sepas. We've had that P from saber before in the preterite, so that might not seem so out of nowhere for you, but it is definitely a little bit more unusual. Still an ER verb, opposite ending is an A plus S, so that also tracks. And ser will also keep up with that pattern where it's an ER verb and we're going to use the opposite ending AS. No seas. So first couple aren't so bad, but these 5 are definitely going to take a little bit more effort to memorize because they don't follow the patterns very well. We can't just go to our yo form rule, drop the O of the ending since they don't end in an O in the present tense.